Another gorgeous Southern California evening, and we're on the hilltop Chavez Ravine overlooking Los Angeles, the San Gabriel Mountains off in the distance, and the Rockies and Dodgers getting together for the second time this year. LA won last night 7-3. They've now won 7 straight against the Rockies at Dodger Stadium. That's the longest losing streak for Colorado here in Tinseltown. Charlie Blackmon, we just showed you that great at bat last night against Kershaw. He will lead things off again this evening for Walt Weiss and the Rockies. And their lineup is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Cargo's back in there. He had yesterday off against Kershaw. Tulo had a big day yesterday, a home run, another base hit. Morneau's back in there. Nolan Arenado will bat 5th. Corey Dickerson 6th. Nick Hundley will bat 7th. DJ LeMahieu. And then Jordan Lyles to face Zach Greinke, who not only is one of the best pitchers in baseball, he's one of the most durable pitchers in baseball.
Well, since 2008, he's averaged at least 28 games started during that time, and sometimes going up as high as 33, 34 starts in a year. So for Greinke, it's not unusual for him to throw a lot of innings, a lot of starts. Got a win in his last outing at Arizona, 7 innings, 5 hits, 7 strikeouts, 0 walks. And for Greinke, it's last night you get Kershaw from the left side. Tonight you get Greinke from the right side. He's going to mix it up with his fastball, slider, changeup, and curveball. 4-pitch mix.
So Charlie strides up to the plate. The Rockies, with the loss last night, are now 6-1 out on the road this year, and both the Rockies and Dodgers share the top position in the NL West, 7-3 through 10 ball games. This start time an hour earlier. Will that affect the flight of the ball?
Yes, it will. I was talking to Tommy Reynolds, the bench coach, about that today during batting practice. Probably the first 3 or 4 innings now, the ball will fly better than it will afterwards. And I think of the 7:30, 8 o'clock. And by the way, happy belated birthday to TR. His birthday was yesterday, forgot to mention it. So happy birthday.
Tommy Reynolds, Colorado legend out of Greeley, Colorado. Here's the 0-1 to Charlie Blackmon, and it's down low. You showed that graphic, Huey. Not only was it a 9-pitch at bat last night, but at the top of the lineup, he's seeing a lot of pitches so he can pass along information when he goes back to the dugout.
Yeah, 4.13 pitches per plate appearance. That helps when guys say, well, how does the ball move? Where does the arm slot?
This is a broken bat fly ball down the line, and it's going to drop. Charlie gets a great turn, and he's going to challenge Puig's arm, and he's going to beat the throw to second base. A fly ball double, Charlie Blackmon to begin things.
Right fielder, number 5.
Sounded like a broken bat. Doesn't matter. You'll throw it out there wherever it lands, and lands down the line. Four-seam fastball didn't do anything. Didn't cut in, just stayed inside. Charlie pulled the hands in. And then Puig, you never know, because he can make some strong throws, has a great arm out there. Charlie sliding in and had to pop up on the bag. We saw the throw from Ethier in right field, and now Puig has an even better arm than Ethier.
Build a run if you're the Rockies. Greinke doesn't give up much. Cargo fires at that first pitch. You got a fastball out over the plate. Yeah, Greinke's like Kershaw. He doesn't walk folks. So far in 13 innings, he's walked just 1 hitter. Just 7 hits allowed, and he struck out 11. The Rockies struck out 16 times yesterday, which is a season high. 12 by Kershaw in 6 innings. And another fastball. That's too high. 1 ball, 1 strike on Cargo. So Carlos has had kind of a rarity in the season. He's had 2 full days off. This Thursday was a scheduled day off for the Rockies, and of course he didn't play yesterday. And a ground ball, and this is going to be a tough chance for Rollins. Did he get him? Out at first. EY immediately signaled to the dugout to say, hey, let's take a look at this. It was bang, bang at first.
And we might have our first challenge of the season.
Cargo's kind of taking his time
and remember,
out on the field. And again, Walt doesn't have to come out to challenge it. What do you think, Huey?
Well, we'll get a better look. Is the ball? Boy, it looks like his foot might hit.
Cargo's now in the dugout. Doesn't look like the Rockies are going to challenge. Ball and glove.
Foot still in the air.
Yep. Boy, it was close.
Yes, it was.
So Blackmon's still at second base.
Yeah, and Charlie couldn't move up on that play because he thought Juan Uribe was going to cut it off.
Jimmy Rollins still has enough arm strength to make that throw. It's a long throw, and of course he had to get rid of the baseball quickly.
And Jimmy has the good hands to make that quick transfer.
Line shot, base hit, and this should score Blackmon. It will, because it's fumbled out there by Ethier. In fact, Tulo's going to be able to move up to second. So Tulowitzki comes through here in the first inning, and the Rockies break on top as Zach Greinke 1-0. That was a rifle shot to left center field.
Troy had a base hit yesterday over the head of Jimmy Rollins. Curveball that he stayed through, just got on top, a little top spin. Ethier cut it off, but then booted it. It's going to go as a hit and an error. So RBI single, E7 on Ethier.
And now Morneau looking for his third RBI. This is in the air, out of play over the Dodger dugout. Justin's had more at-bats against Greinke than anybody else. They were in the same division for a number of years when Greinke was playing for Kansas City. Lifetime 200 hitter against Greinke.
Ooh, got him.
Up and in. So Morneau runs down to first, 2 on here with 1 out for Nolan Arenado. Here's the Dodgers defensively. Andre Ethier can play all 3 outfield spots. He's over in left field. That's a spot he played when he first came up. Jock Peterson's in center. Yasiel Puig after missing the last 3. As we discussed, in right field. Uribe, Rollins, Kendrick, Adrian Gonzalez, and Yasmani Grandal. Rockies were hoping that Adrian took a day off. That's not going to happen for a while, I guess. That's a good block by Grandal.
Let's take a look at the outfield arms for the Dodgers. We saw Ethier in right. Has an above average arm, pretty good accuracy as he displayed on the throw home. The Jock Peterson, just a young kid, but he's got a cannon in center field, but not as good as this guy in right field. Just across the board, arm strength, pretty good accuracy. When he's got a chance, he doesn't have to spin. I saw him make a throw one time from right field all the way to third. So you have to know, if you're Stu Cole, how hard the ball's hit, who's out there running, all that's going to be factored in if you decide to send a guy home.
1-1 on Arenado. It's the hardest pitch we've seen from Greinke so far. That came in at 93 miles an hour. Tulo at second, Morneau at first, a run in already for Colorado. And that ball on the ground to third, Uribe. Low throw, and it's handled by Adrian Gonzalez for the double play to end the inning. So the Rockies touch up Greinke for 1 in the first. A good start on offense for Colorado. last night against the Rockies. Jimmy Rollins in his first year outside of the city of brotherly love. He'll lead things off. The switch hitter will be in from the left side to begin things, and the rest of Don Mattingly's Southwest batting order. Yasiel Puig will bat second, and then the hottest hitter on the planet, Adrian Gonzalez, next. He was 3 for 4, a couple more doubles yesterday. He's batting a cool .550. Howie Kendrick homered last night. Yasmani Grandal, Andre Ethier, Juan Uribe, Jock Peterson, and a very good hitting pitcher in Zach Greinke.
Well, for Jordan, he's probably been the most consistent in his 2 starts. What he's accomplished, 6 innings on each outing, and it was the victim of the blown save in his last start. He was left with a 5-3 lead in the Cubs, and that was an unfortunate game that Rockies lost late.
First pitch missed, ball 1 on Rollins. And Lyles gives up a fly ball here that Charlie Blackmon will move back a couple of steps, make the catch, 1 out. Rockies have played outstanding defense. In fact, in their 7 wins, they've committed just 1 error. Dickerson, Blackmon, and Cargo in the outfield. Arenado, Tulowitzki left side, DJ and Justin Morneau is on the right side, and Nick Huntley is behind the plate. Jordan Lyles, very good athlete on the mound, similar to Greinke, and the fact that they'll move real well and fielding the baseball.
They hit, they do everything. They're not just pitchers.
Tardy swing inside out, and Puig is behind 0-1.
Since this guy came upon the stage for the Dodgers, playing at over a .600 winning percentage. He just kind of brought everything, the energy, enthusiasm of a youth, some mistakes, but that's what you get, and that's why they wanted to sign him.
He has a flair, shall we say, that he plays with. He says he's not going to flip the bat anymore. We shall see, right?
Yeah, I was
You'll
thinking,
believe it when
I
you see it.
I don't believe it, and he might not do it for 1 time. Might not even do it twice.
Did it bother you when somebody did it?
Not really. I mean, if your guys did it, you're happy.
Yeah.
I just don't like the stand and admiring part at home plate.
Here's the 1-2.
And the reason I say that is, conversely, I don't like pitchers when they stand down and do all the antics after they strike somebody out.
I don't like that either. You know, the bat flip, as long as you move around in an orderly fashion around the bases, I'm all right with it. I mean, you know, everybody has a different personality. Not everybody's going to be like Terrell Davis, run in the end zone, or Emmitt Smith, and then
just hand the ball
or sprint out of the end zone. And Emmitt Smith used to run out of the end zone faster than he ran into the end zone. But you know what? Different personalities.
That's what makes baseball and sports fun.
Yeah, I remember Willie Montanez when he hit him out. Jeffrey Leonard dropped the flap down.
1 flap down.
3-2. Puig line shot caught by Nolan Arenado. Don't hit it there if you want to reach. 2 outs.
You never get tired of watching Nolan in his first step reaction, because you know the ball's hit hard, but he just makes it look so easy. First step, boom, crossover, I got it. Don't worry about it.
You don't often say this about third baseman, but he's worth the price of admission defensively by himself. You may say, hey, I want to come see a shortstop play because they figured it'd be involved a little bit more. First pitch strike on Gonzalez.
Or most of the time it's, hey, don't go get a hot dog while this guy hits.
Yeah. Well, there's a few of those on both sides in this game, and here's one in Adrian Gonzalez, especially right now. High fly ball on the infield. DJ waiting, and it's a good start for Jordan Lyles. Economical in how many pitches he threw, and he gets the Dodgers in order. Rockies up 1-0 in L.A. Stores, let's go places. And by Southwest Airlines, book your low fare now at southwest.com. Crowd settling in. The Rockies got after Zach Greinke in the first inning. Actually could have done perhaps more damage. They had a leadoff double from Charlie Blackmon. Tulowitzki brought him home with a line single. They had runners at first and second, but Arenado bounced into a 5-3 double play. So they'll re-kickstart the engine here with Corey Dickerson. Corey hitting .350, a couple home runs. He's driven in 10. Only Paul Goldschmidt has driven in more runs in the National League. First pitch outside.
I was talking to Nomar Garciaparra today, and he just loved the way that Corey approached in a bat, not only what he did against Kershaw last night, but he just liked watching him.
I think hitters appreciate good hitters, obviously, and Corey Dickerson is certainly that. And he is an aggressive hitter.
Well, Nomar was pretty aggressive.
Nomar was very aggressive. Nomar played during a period, and you played obviously then too, when there were about 5 or 6 shortstops that were middle of the order guys. I mean, A-Rod obviously, Miguel Tejada.
Yeah, I mean that was always. Even then, you had Jeter at short. Now he wasn't in the middle, but he was hitting first and second.
This is back up the middle. Greinke will go underhand, 1 out.
No, it wasn't unusual for them to throw up 25, 30 home runs.
Sure.
Number 4, Nick Hundley.
1 out. Nick Hundley will take his turn against Zach Greinke. I still marvel at these numbers for Greinke. Since he joined the Dodgers, this bears repeating, and hopefully the Rockies can upset the apple cart on this one. 19-1 against the NL West. 19-1 with a 1.87 ERA. In his last 17 starts, think about this. He's 13-0 against the NL West.
Yeah, I thought that had to be a misprint. There's 19-1. Come on, you're kidding me. And overall, since he's pitched against the National League West, he's 23-5.
It's really remarkable. Here's the 0-1 to Hundley. And, you know, there's other guys that have done well against the NL West, but nothing like Greinke's numbers, especially since joining the Dodgers. And it's not all on Greinke. You can go out and pitch a pretty good ball game, but if your team gets shut down by the opposition pitcher, maybe they kick one, or
right.
You know, and you end up losing 2-1, that
bad
sort of
defense
thing.
Behind you.
Yeah. I mean, for him to go 19-1 over such an extended period of time, it's unfathomable. And he's the number 2.
I think 1B.
Yeah, it's 1 and 1. Yeah, 1A. I don't even make him a B. Here's 1-2.
Well,
2 and 2.
The reason I went to a B because I gave Kershaw the 1A.
Yeah. Well, Kershaw went 6 innings, struck out 12 yesterday. The Rockies had good at bats against him. I know that sounds strange when you see a team strike out 12 times, but I thought Walt said it best after the game. Adrian's going to have a play. Gonzalez has the second out. He said afterward, listen, you're going to strike out when you face Kershaw. He's going to get his strikeouts. But the at-bats we put together were good at-bats. They were competitive at-bats. And for the first time in forever, there were a couple home runs given up, as you mentioned earlier. Blackmon's home run was just the 22nd home run he's given up to a left-handed hitter in his career. And Tulo hit the line shot home run. I'll take that same approach into tonight. See if we can do more damage against Greinke. LeMahieu had only 3 at-bats. He was batting 9th yesterday. 0 for 3, so that snapped his 9-game hitting streak to begin the year.
Still for DJ, all the hits that he's had in the first 10 games.
There's a running fastball inside. Home plate umpires Tim Timmons this evening. Todd Tishner is at first base. Tim Welke, the crew chief, at second, and Mike Everett is behind the plate. Excuse me, is at third base. He was behind the plate yesterday.
Yeah, 18 hits for DJ in the first 10 ball games.
Most hits through 10 games. Dante with 23. That's what Adrian Gonzalez has produced in his first 10 games for the Dodgers this year. That's a strike, 2-2. Greinke, since joining the Dodgers, is 5-1 with a 281 against the Rockies. And this year, like most years, his ground ball to fly ball rate is outstanding. This year, it's close to 2-1. He strikes out just under 8 hitters per 9 innings. So you look at all the numbers. Low walk rate. He's terrific.
Well, and the thing that makes him hard to hit, let alone his good stuff and 4-pitch mix, is he'll change the game plan and what he's doing and how he's attacking you at bat to at bat. So you can't say, okay, well, this first 2 he did this on me, so he'll continue to do it with my third at bat. So it becomes that cat and mouse game, and you always seem like you're playing catch up.
2-2. And that fastball, strike 3, inside corner. DJ looks back at Tim Timmons, debating him. He thought it was in, and it was in. Looking at the 4 strike zone. That was, a situation last night with Mike Everett. He had a wide zone east to west. 1-0 Rockies.
Real, to see him do that. I still look at the pictures that we have from that night, and to see him now in that major.
Bottom of the second, Howie Kendrick will lead it off against Jordan Lyles as we check in with Jenny Kavnar for the first time. Jenny?
Hey, Drew, Dodger Stadium, a very special place for Nolan Arenado. That's because he grew up coming here, but he also played in the 2008 CIF championship game here for the Southern section. He happened to beat Tyler Chatwood's team, which is a very cool memory. I got the chance to go down to Lake Forest, where he's from, and talk to his high school coach, Mike Gonzalez, about that special memory.
Being there that night, in his junior year in 2008, and to see him a few years later play on that same field, it was just so surreal, to see him do that. I still look at the pictures that we have from that night, and to see him now on that major league field, it's just special, and I don't think it happens very often. And then, to add to it that Tyler Chatwood's one of his teammates, and that that's who we played in the finals. It's all pretty cool.
So Nolan Arenado loves where he came from in Lake Forest, California, and El Toro High School always has a special place in his heart, as there's a base hit right there by Howie Kendrick turning into a double. But when you talk about where Nolan Arenado came from, he always gives back. His head coach, Mike Gonzalez, told me that Nolan is the first person to call him or text him after El Toro's won a few more state championships along the way, so that's pretty special. And a quick update for you guys on Tyler Chatwood. He's been with the team. He had Tommy John surgery, of course, last summer. He'll be heading out to Arizona. But the two of them having that special memory in their back pocket, Nolan always likes the opportunity to kind of poke a little bit at Tyler Chatwood. And when I talked to Mike Gonzalez, he said, make sure to tell Tyler, ask him about that memory in 2008. He likes to poke at him too a little bit. So it's kind of fun that they ended up being teammates on the very same playing field, guys.
Yeah, that's a wild one, but this is a bastion for baseball, Southern California, moving down the road to Orange County. So many great players come out of this part of the country. So a double by Kendrick past the diving Arenado, and Yasmani Grandal at the plate.
Well, you know it had to have been hit hard if you can hit it past Nolan with the dive. So Howie Kendrick did to Hopper. He lays out.
I didn't think it was a bad pitch. That was running in on the hands of Howie Kendrick. And that's going to tie up the game. Cargo's try to hold Grandal, and he will, to a single on a perfect throw. But Grandal makes it 1-1. Kendrick a double. Grandal is second Dodger RBI.
A left-handed hitter with the runner at second base. You're looking to pull the ball to advance the runner. Well, Grandal did more than that. Gets the RBI single. So when you think about that as a left-hander, you think about, I'm going to start my swing sooner, and when the ball's inside, it just plays into what you're trying to accomplish.
So Ethier will step up. Andre in the lineup tonight for Carl Crawford. Way outside, ball one. Ethier told me before the ball game last year he came to camp, really leaned out because he knew there was a chance he was going to play a lot of center field, so he is about 10-12 pounds heavier this year. He looks great, and he actually, you and I were discussing this, I thought Andre's probably 225, 230, and he said, no, I'm 215.
So last year he played at 205.
Played at 205 last year.
And he's about 6'3".
Yeah, he's a big guy, and he carries the weight well. In fact, he looks bigger than he is weight-wise. You know, the home run numbers were down last year, and I think it's probably one of the things that he was cognizant of. Maybe added weight would help him out. He's been a very good Dodger through the years. Longest tenured Dodger.
Whole career here.
Yep. Came down from Oakland. He's fouled off.
Yeah. Arizona State product.
And he still makes his home in the Phoenix area. Swung on and missed, so Lyles strikes out Ethier. First strikeout for Jordan in the first out of the second inning. That'll bring up Uribe.
Third baseman, Juan Uribe.
Rockies fans, you can join the conversation all summer long. Send us your thoughts and photos via Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. Use the hashtag Toyota Talk. We'll show some of your Toyota Talk comments throughout the ball game. Way inside, ball one. The sort of land. This was taken by Adam Ottavino, who enjoys photography, and we know how much Michael Kadire enjoyed photography. Accomplished amateur photographer. Michael hitting .318 right now, and really going for the Mets, who look like they may win again. They're up late 5-1. The only team in the National League with a better record coming into today than the Rockies and Dodgers. The Mets, who won 8 of their first 10. Just hit hard enough to turn two. Yep. Tulo fires, and Uribe's out by a couple of steps. In the inning, a double by Kendrick, a single by Grandal has tied up the game as we go to the third. 1-1 in LA. Of Metro Denver Dreamhouse raffle, an opportunity to win a $2.5 million home or a couple of $1 million in cash, and also help out a great cause. Visit milehighraffle.com for more information. Jordan Lyles against Zach Greinke here in the third, then Charlie Blackmon and Carlos Gonzalez, Drew Goodman, Jeff Hewson, and Jenny Cavnar. A perfect Southern California evening. Almost 49,000 in the ballpark last night. Rockies have had a heavy road schedule to begin 2015. The Dodgers have, for the most part, been here at home. And Lyles takes a strike.
It just means for the Dodgers, they're going to have to go out on the road for a couple 10-game road trips. Nice to get home, play in front of your home crowd again for Colorado.
This is tapped up the line. Uribe jumps on it, but then he throws low.
You know what? He's going to have to buy Adrian Gonzalez maybe a
cold beverage
cold
later.
Beverage, steak sandwich, something, because he saved him twice. And both times it's been on a low throw that it's not been an easy one to pick. And Adrian has come up and made both of them look easy, and they're not.
Adrian's an outstanding fielder as well as one of the premier hitters and RBI men in the game. Blackmon doubled down the right field line. He had his bat broken, and he would score on a base hit by Tulowitzki. That was an inning ago, 2 innings ago.
Here's the double in the first inning. Inside pitch, you can hear the crack of the bat, and then the bat actually split down in two. Still strong to drop it as far as he did in right field.
That average up to 282 after a slower start in Milwaukee. I thought he had good at bats in Milwaukee, just didn't have many results. That's why it's so important in life, but especially in the game of baseball, to remember process over results sometimes, right?
Well, yeah, you want to remind yourself that. You keep reminding yourself. But when you look up at the big board and you see your average, you're like, oh, man, I need a hit tonight in a bad sort of way.
It's on the outside corner.
But if you do the process and you do the extra batting practice and the tee work, it will eventually come.
Another pitch called a strike that looks like it's outside the Ford strike zone. Man, we were talking about this last night with Kershaw. They're good enough. They don't need to get an extra couple inches on both sides of the plate. Had a conversation with Mark McGuire, longtime hitting coach now, first in St. Louis and now for Don Mattingly. We're talking about, as a hitting coach at this level, you're a full-time psychologist. He said, I really don't talk mechanics much, McGuire was saying. He goes, hitters will say, oh, my mechanics are messed up. And he has found most of the time it's their pitch selection that's messed up.
They get themselves out. They'll expand the strike zone. They don't get a ball that they can handle. They don't know what their own strike zone is. Just because it might be called a strike doesn't mean it's a good pitch for you to hit.
Cargo takes strike one. And then they'll be in the video room and they'll say, boy, you know, I'm one for my last 12. And Mark would look and say, well, find a good pitch to hit and put a good swing on it, and you probably find the results will come. Of course, if it was that easy,
right,
everybody hit 430.
Yeah, sure. Just go up and look for this one pitch right here. When a pitcher's saying, well, I'm going to adjust his eyes, I'm going to throw one up, I'll throw one down, the lane in, the lane out.
0-2 on Gonzalez. It's usually a set me up for something else, but you never know with Greinke.
And Greinke's, he will throw the fastball up to strike out guys.
He has a dirty changeup, and he is.
Well, that's where the high fastball, if he gets you to thinking about that, will turn that changeup over and dive it away.
There it is, right there. It was off the plate. He's throwing that changeup about 30% of the time, including about a third of the time, a little bit more with 2 strikes.
And this is the fastball to get to that changeup when he's throwing it up, the strikeout percentage.
And he'll double up on it. He has great command.
And there was the double up. You know, the low one, that's to get, those are the more of the, hey, quick, I want to try to get a ground ball. If not, it still works. But most guys are training their eyes nowadays to think from probably mid-thigh down. So when you get it above the letters or up towards the letters, and these are all within the strike zone, that's when you get the strikeouts.
And Cargo earns a walk. He was behind 2 strikes, 4 out of the zone, and with 2 outs, he'll go to first base for Tulowitzki.
What a patient at bat for Cargo. Behind in the count 1-2, lays off back-to-back changeups. Doesn't offer spits on him, says nope, I don't want him, and then the fastball is up and away, trot down to first.
And that's something else McGuire was talking about. Oftentimes it'll take a couple of walks in a sequence to kind of get you back in a good place.
Well, you feel that patience and you feel that heartbeat start to slow down. You know, Mark and Spilly were talking about records. You know, so when you're in a bad stretch, your heart's going into 72. But when it's good, you're back to the 33 on the records.
78.
So 78, not 72. 78.
And I've never seen a 78.
No, but your heartbeat feels like it.
Right. I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Instead of the big old disc that you plop down there and just kind of circle around.
National Vinyl Day, huh?
Vinyl's making a big comeback. Just ask Doug Marino.
Well, he would know.
Well, he goes to garage sales to look for those vinyls.
And other items. Here's one strike on Tulo, and that goes past Grandal. And Carr goes in scoring position, and that's a pass ball on Grandal.
Second one in the last 2 games. He had one yesterday. And that's been part of the knock on Grandal. Yeah, he's a switch hitter, and he's in there for his offense. They're going to go with a wild pitch. I don't know. I know he was set up. The ball didn't hit the dirt. He just had to reach across his body.
At this level, that ball's got to be handled by the catcher. Don Mattingly not pleased because now another hit by Tulowitzki, and the Rockies are ahead. And this moves, and Cargo will go to third base.
Legs are feeling great.
Yep.
No problem.
That'll be a wild pitch as well. So the rarest of things from Greinke here with 2 outs, a walk, just a second this year, and then back-to-back wild pitches.
And that one was another one that could have easily been blocked, but it wasn't. Cargo recognized how far it kicked away from Grandal. Now, why not go for the trifecta?
Well, listen, Cargo's going to get a nice walking lead. This ball rifled to third. Uribe's got it. And he'll throw out Tulowitzki. Troy hit it hard, but right at Juan Uribe. And the Rockies will leave Cargo at third. Middle of 3, 1-1 in L.A. Lineup will face Jordan Lyles here in the third. With every challenged call, the Subaru eyesight review will determine the outcome. Love, it's what makes a Subaru a Subaru. A nice chat with Don Mattingly this afternoon, Huey, and he was telling us that he likes his clubhouse, he likes his team, understandably quite a bit. Loves what Jimmy Rollins and Howie Kendrick have brought, not only on the field, up the middle, but 2 steadying veteran influences in the clubhouse. They play every day. I mean, Howie Kendrick's as professional as they come. In fact, Mark McGuire was saying that one of the first calls he got as Peterson's behind 0-2 was from a guy he knows well, Albert Pujols, from his time in St. Louis, naturally. Yes. And he said Albert told him, he said, "You're going to love this guy. He shows up every day, doesn't say a lot, and is as professional as they come. Works his tail off."
Just a different vibe for the clubhouse. And for Jimmy Rollins, he needed a a change. He didn't realize what was going to happen in Philadelphia, how they were at the top and went to the bottom in the blink of an eye.
They had a great run in Philadelphia. He was part of some great teams, but they are, this is hooked foul. They are clearly in the rebuilding mode, and it wasn't a difficult decision for Jimmy to, after 15 years in a Philadelphia Philly uniform, to move on. Told a funny story today because I was kidding him. I said, "Man, you don't look right in that uniform." He said, "The first time I put it on," he said, "I was walking toward batting practice." That's high, 2-2. And I passed a mirror, and he goes, I stopped, and I said, "What?" He said, "The last time I wore blue was in high school."
You have to get blue batting glove, blue cleats. I mean, not that he had to go down to the sporting goods store and buy it.
Good changeup. Lyles strikes out Peterson. Second strikeout for Jordan. And that'll bring up Zach Greinke.
Well, you can bite to the game. That takes place on every Sunday home game this season, with the next one on April 26th. Get more information at Rockies.com/green and bite to the game.
So here's Greinke, who's a great golfer, pretty good pitcher. Swings the bat well. He's just a great all-around athlete. And he pumps one toward right center field on cue, unfortunately. Cargo does a great job cutting that off. Cargo, you talk about subtle little things. That's a double against virtually any other right fielder.
Well, he saved a double in the second inning, keeping Grandal at first base, and that kept the double play in order. Greinke, almost on cue from what you were saying, Drew. It's at the right center.
So with one out, Greinke at first base. Jimmy Rollins hit a high fly ball to Charlie Blackmon in the first inning. Outside on the switch hitter. Jimmy makes his offseason home with his family in Tampa. Originally from the Oakland area.
Good pitch.
Where's that?
Yep, that's what I thought.
On the edge of that Ford strike zone.
Yeah, the changeup. It wasn't taken out of the zone by Nick. He held it.
Yeah.
Well received.
Here it is, 2-1. That's why guys like Renee Latchman, Mark Strittmatter, when you talk about the finer points of catching, if you drop down to a knee there, you're almost telling the umpire, yeah, it's below the zone. And Nick stayed in his solid catcher stance and froze that baseball. Unfortunately, he didn't get the strike call on that, but I think more often than not he will. 3-1. Something Jerry Weinstein, who still works in the Rockies organization, preaches. Getting those borderline calls, and Lyles loses Rollins, and now you have two on with Puiga. This is not where you want to create traffic. First walk of the night for Jordan.
Number 66, Yasiel Puig.
This looked like the last two pitches from Jordan. He was running away from his arm, falling too far over to first base, not finishing out in front. His arm was trailing behind.
Puig hit a rocket to third his first time up. Arenado stabbed it. Puig is 3 for 6 in his career against Jordan Lyles. Well, Puig never moved. He was taken the whole way, 1-0. almost got hurt on that swing.
Looked like he hurt his hamstring.
Yeah, see, he got 3 days off with a sore hamstring. Anybody who's had a back of the leg issue,
3 days isn't long enough.
3 days isn't long enough.
But just watch how he hops after. Yeah, still barking.
He said, talked to him briefly tonight. He said he feels like 60%. I mean, he's falling right in. Every athlete gives a percentage. How about 77%? I feel about 85%.
Really? 84, 85?
Yeah.
Okay.
He gave us to 60%. 2-1. Jordan Lyles, the 24-year-old right-hander, against the native of Cuba, the 24-year-old slugger Yasiel Puig. See if Jordan can get a ground ball here. 2 on and 1 out in a 1-1 affair.
If he does hit it on the ground, he will be testing that hamstring. So we'll find out.
Not that you ever advocate a player not running hard, but in the interest of staying on the field, I think Puig would be wise to not cut it loose. Hopefully we have the opportunity. Yeah, hopefully we have the opportunity to watch that. Hitter two-hopper to Tulo here. 2-1. That's a base hit. It was hit so hard that Greinke just moves up 90 feet. So the bases are loaded for the last guy right now you want to see in baseball. The hottest man to start the season in the big leagues, Adrian Gonzalez.
Puig didn't need to worry about his hamstring on this pitch, allowing him to get his arms extended. See how the arms came through all the way. He didn't have to drop the elbow down, closer to his side. And Corey thought about maybe I'll have a chance, but wisely just played it on the hop.
Off-speed pitch fouled off by Adrian Gonzalez. Gonzalez popped to second his first at bat. He was on some kind of tear to begin the season. Great numbers with the bases loaded. You know, he's on such a tear, he's due to come back to earth.
Why not?
Hitting .550 beginning play today. And there it is, 6-4-3.
How about that?
Low throw.
Oh,
wow.
I can't remember the last time I saw DJ make that throw in the dirt.
DJ just yelled into his glove. He can't either. There will be no error attached. In fact, Adrian Gonzalez will get an RBI, but DJ LeMahieu knows all he had to do. I mean, Adrian Gonzalez doesn't run well. Just get it in the air over to Morneau, and the inning's over. It cost the Rockies a run.
Yeah, feed was fine. DJ, I mean, he just threw that down in the dirt. Man, what a heartbreaker, because you had the double play. Jordan thought he had the double play.
That's a double play 99 times out of 100. It is, especially with the people involved. I mean, Adrian Gonzalez is out by 3 steps.
Those just eat you up as an infielder.
And a great play by Morneau to save a run as he robs Howie Kendrick. So the Dodgers get a run they shouldn't have, and it's 2-1 LA. Corey Dickerson. And look at DJ LeMahieu, who's normally calm, cool, and collected coming off the field. He was so angry, he fired the leather at the bench.
I don't have a problem with that at all. I mean, if you do it all the time, but when you make a play that you've made 100 times, thousands of times, and you know you could have got out of the inning, it just frustrates you. I'm all right with it. His teammates are all right with it.
You may not see that again in calendar year 2015. I mean, he's that good. We know he's that good. He won a Gold Glove. That's why this game's so painful sometimes. One strike count on Morneau. And that's pulled past Eric Young. New Britain won tonight 5-1. Try to keep you abreast of how the Rockies minor leaguers are doing. David Dahl was 1 for 3 tonight. Trevor Story continues to rate 2 for 4 tonight. He's hitting .405. Tommy Murphy, he was DH and not catching tonight. He was 1 for 3, .364. A couple of the top prospects in the Rockies organization. Johan Flande, who was up here last year. Johan got the win. 1 run over 6 innings.
2-0.
Yep. And that's back up the middle. Base hit for Justin. So a leadoff single, and the Rockies have the tying run on.
Number 28, Nolan Arenado.
Rockies' third hit of the ball game as Arenado will come up. Who wants tacos? If the Rockies score 7 or more, go to participating Colorado Taco Bell locations the next day. Do it between 4 and 6 and get your Rockies taco special. Liv Moss at Taco Bell. Nolan grounded into a 5-3 double play. There was runners at first and second when he came up in the first. And that hit him, so it's a foul ball. Outside. Grandal able to catch that. There were 2 wild pitches last inning by Greinke. A year ago, he had 12 wild pitches, which was tied for third most in the National League. Lincecum and Edinson Volquez both had 15. Big names on there, guys with great stuff.
Well, they also make a lot of starts.
Back up the middle. Greinke knocks it down, and a low throw. Did he stay on the bag? He did. Howie Kendrick.
I'm shaking my head thinking, what? He went to second base. You see pitchers when it goes off their glove or it hits them, they're scrambling around to find the baseball. They start to panic. They went off the calf, but the whole time he was looking at second, and Kendrick indeed stayed on the bag.
Well, let's see if he did. Yeah, I think
that's right. His right foot. Okay, it's on the bag. The ball's in his glove.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good call. So Dickerson with the man on. That's how well Greinke fields his position, because a lot of pitchers don't make that stop, and it's through the middle, and you got 2 guys on.
Or if not, as I was mentioning, he panics and just gets you out at first.
In the air, well hit, left center field. Peterson misjudged it, and then he reroutes and makes the catch.
And that's the difference for the Dodgers this year compared to last year. Jock Peterson, even misjudging this, still has the extra gear to go get it. Twice he misjudged it. He cut over, and then he started to slow down and had to pick up again.
Two outs, Nick Hundley at the plate. There's very few things Jock Peterson can't do. '58th pitch of the ball game from Greinke misses. 1-2 on Nick Hundley, fouled out to first in the second inning. Greinke won a Cy Young several years ago with the Royals.
2009.
He's also the rarest of pitchers in that he has won a Cy Young, he's won a Gold Glove, he's won a Silver Slugger. That's pretty much the trifecta for pitchers. Fernando did it. Now Dodger broadcaster. There's Fernando with Pepe. Oral Hershiser, who works for the Dodgers in a broadcasting capacity as well, did it. 2-2.
Greinke originally selected in the first round, 6th overall pick in 2002. Early on in his career, he was 8-11 his first year in 04, 05. He was 5-17. And then he started to figure it out. 2008, 13-10, then 16-8. 16-6 with Milwaukee his first year there.
And this is in the air to right field. Puig has it, and the Rockies are done in their half of the fourth inning. Morneau had a single to start the inning, nothing else. 2-1 LA. fourth inning. Yasmani Grandal out of the fifth spot in the order. That is the incomparable Vin Scully. It's time for our Coors Timeless Moment. How about this, folks? April the 18th, 1950. A wee 65 years ago, a 22-year-old Vin Scully makes his debut in the Dodgers broadcast booth alongside Hall of Famer Red Barber and Connie Desmond. Called a 9-1 Brooklyn loss to the Phillies over in Shive Park. And here he is, and he has not lost a step. That is something. The Sporting News tweeted out a photo from that ball game earlier today. Part of our Toyota Talk as well. It cuts inside on Grandal. 1 ball, 1 strike. 66 years behind the microphone. 1-2.
We said it last night. We'll say it again tonight. When we come here, that's the first place we go. We go next door to Vin's booth and just talk to the legend.
Swung on and missed. Lyles strikes out. Grandal first out in the fourth. It's kind of funny because JR, who's another institution, not quite at Vin's level, an institution here in LA, and our close friend through the years, John Reynolds, is mugging for the camera right now. Maybe if Mike Fox is kind enough, he'll take a shot at you right now. But you had introduced us to a couple of old friends. There's the side of John. There you come on in there, Johnny. There you go.
Look at he's
pull the cap up. Yeah.
Sports hat.
Your
nice.
team guy. And you were introducing us to some close friends of yours. And Vin came by and you introduced them to me. He said, Lori, this is, and he reached out his hand. He said, hi, Vin Scully. and we're laughing. We're thinking, probably didn't need to say that. 1-0 the count on Ethier. And Ethier hits a high pop-up on the left side. Nolan waiting. Nolan's got it.
Number 5.
Juan Uribe with 2 outs. Uribe bounced into a 4-6-3 double play his first time, and he swats at this one and hits it down the right field line out of play. They've got some veterans, some guys long in the tooth, but still productive. Uribe, Jimmy Rollins. You know, Adrian's been around for a while now. Howie Kendrick's got 10 years in. Ethier. 2-strike count.
Did you see that tweet from a moment ago that the Giants placed Jake Peavy on the DL with a bad back? Talk about long in the tooth. There's a couple guys on that pitching staff.
But Bumgarner hasn't been Bumgarner just yet. You know, Matt Cain hasn't started throwing. Giants have issues. And this is one tough division. Rockies are off to a good start. You know the Dodgers are talented, and you know the Padres are maybe, again, on paper, the most improved team in baseball.
Well, Matt Kipp hit his first home run for the Padres.
Cubs ended up winning that ball game today. That's low. Former Diamondback. Strike 3. Good news. Former Diamondback Miguel Montero, a couple of home runs for the Cubs today. Good inning for Lyles. 1-2-3 in the fourth. Rockies trail 2-1 as we go to the fifth at Dodger Stadium. Mustang, head-turning and heart-pounding. Ford, go further. By Southwest Airlines, book your low fare now at southwest.com. And by CenturyLink, your link to what's next. Saturday night in Los Angeles, the Rockies in the fifth inning engaged in a battle with Zach Greinke and the Dodgers. They trailed 2-1. DJ LeMahieu, Jordan Lyles, and then Charlie Blackmon. DJ caught looking his first time on a pitch that was inside, and that first pitch misses, ball one. LeMahieu brought a .474 average into the ballpark tonight. Always nice when you can total on that kind of average, huh? This ball is in the air to Peterson in center. 1 out.
Number 24, Jordan Lyles.
Jordan Lyles bounced to third his first time. So you mentioned the 0-2 draft when Zach Greinke was the 6th pick overall. In that draft, there are 7 guys that have played in an all-star game that were selected in the first round. Brian Bullington was not one of them. He was the first pick overall by the Pirates and had, you know, several cups of coffee in the big leagues. He had battled some injuries. B.J. Upton was the 2nd pick of Tampa Bay. You know about how, you know, Upton's had some good years. He has struggled the last couple of seasons, so much so that he's changed his name. He's Melvin Upton now. Chris Grueller was a right-handed pitcher out of a California high school. He never got to the big leagues. Red selected him. Adam Lowen of the Orioles did get up. He was a kid drafted out of a Canadian high school. There's a slider for a strike. Clint Everts was drafted by the Expos, a right-handed pitcher out of Cypress Falls High School in Texas. Never got to the big leagues. And then Greinke was selected. Prince Fielder went next. Both of those guys obviously all-stars. Easy play for Gonzalez. 2 outs. Scott Moore went next.
Baltimore.
Well, he was drafted. He was shortstop, drafted by the Tigers. I don't know if he ever got to the big leagues. Do you remember him in the big leagues?
Yes, he did.
He did get.
Yeah, he got there with Baltimore.
The Rockies selected 9th that year, and they took Jeff Francis. And Drew Meyer was a middle infielder out of the University of South Carolina who went 10th. So of the top 10 picks, Upton, you know, not so much lately, but's had a good career. Greinke obviously has had a great career. Prince Fielder's had a great career. Jeff Francis is still pitching. He's in minor league baseball now. Had a good career. Pitched the Rockies to the World Series. Helped pitch them there in 07. Just gives you an idea how difficult the science of drafting is. Even the top 10 picks in a draft. The other All-Stars, Joe Saunders made an All-Star team. The Angels drafted him 12th out of Virginia Tech. Scott Kazmir, who's still pitching great baseball for Oakland now. This is going to be an easy play for Howie Kendrick. Nick Swisher, Cole Hamels, and Matt Cain, the other All-Stars from that 0-2 first-round draft. 2-1 to score, middle of 5. The Dodgers by a run.
and Jimmy Rollins due up for the Dodgers. Speaking of Jimmy Rollins, got a chance to talk to him before the game, and now that he's back in the National League West, or in the National League West, I should say, he'll have a chance to play opposite of Troy Tulowitzki when the Dodgers play the Rockies. And after spending 14 seasons with the Philadelphia Phillies, he knows how much it means to Tulo to play with one team.
When he first got here, they were, winning, and, he had the tough spell, so I can relate, and the pressures that, and the blames that you get, when a team isn't doing well. But it's special to, carry an organization on your shoulders, although it comes with all the pressures. But it's always nice to know that you're the man and everything revolves around you. And, we hail from basically the same area, so maybe it's something in the water out there in the Bay Area that we're doing right.
Both Northern California boys. Of course, Jimmy Rollins from Alameda, California, so very strange for him to be in Dodger blue. But he said this is a place that he really wanted to be. He enjoyed all of his time in Philadelphia, but he knew this was the right moment for him to be here in a Dodger uniform. I'll have more of that conversation coming up tomorrow on the pregame show. You don't want to miss what Jimmy said about putting on Jackie Robinson's number on Jackie Robinson Day in a Dodger uniform for the first time. It was a very special moment for him. Guys?
Jenny, we look forward to that tomorrow. Jimmy's always a pleasure to visit with, and we didn't have to ask him twice. And he had the ability as a 10-5 guy, 10 years with in baseball, 5 straight with the same organization, to turn down any sort of trade. But he, at this point in his career, happily went to L.A. And Jordan Lyles upset with himself. He was ahead of Jock Peterson. He lost him. So a leadoff walk. And this is what got him in trouble in the 3rd inning. He had an opportunity to get out of it, but he created some traffic. Gave up a 1-out hit to Greinke and then walked Rollins. And then you had to deal with Puig and Adrian Gonzalez.
Well, and then by walking Jock Peterson, you don't know what Greinke's going to do.
That's a great point, Huey.
Most of the time,
guys,
you're going to lay down the bunt, but he could lay down the bunt, he could pull it back, he could hit, he could just swing away. You have the lead 2-1. And don't be fooled. The pitcher's with somebody that can handle the bat. He'll get that bat out there early. And I know that's why Jordan threw to first, but then pull it back and just try to hit the top half of the ball and hit it into a hole.
Greinke fouls that bunt attempt off. Talking about that 0-2 draft, Jeff Francis goes to first round. Our own Ryan Spilborghs went in the 7th round that year. What year was Sully? Was Sully the next year? Corey, if you're listening, let us know.
Text us.
I know he's watching.
That is if he got all the snow out of the way.
He had to get it off the dish. You know what we do? Because lately he's at that age where he likes to spend time on the roof anyhow. We just send Gabe up there.
Go get him, Gabe.
Sully was 2001. Here's the bunt, and Lyles will get the out to LeMahieu.
Well, first 20,000 fans on April 24th to receive a Colorado Rockies tote bag courtesy of MLB Network. Get your tickets for this game against the San Francisco Giants.
There were more good players in the latter part of that first round. I'm always fascinated by drafts. Guys that have had an impact. James Loney, former Dodger, he was taken 19th in that draft. Denard Span, Twins took 20th. Jeremy Guthrie, who pitched briefly for the Rockies, was the 22nd pick that year out of Stanford. Jeff Francoeur went right after Guthrie. He's at a Parkview High School in suburban Atlanta, and he's off to a good start with Philadelphia.
Kind of bounced around after leaving Atlanta, and he went to Kansas City briefly.
Rollins takes a strike, 1-1. So Lyles, some work to do to keep it a one-run game. One out. Peterson at second. Rollins to be followed by Puig. Jimmy was a first-round pick. About the scout who turned him in, said, I got a 5'8", 150-pound guy. He's going to be terrific.
He has to go in the first round. Well, that's where you can't just go alone by body types. And I'm talking about not only position players, but some pitchers. You know, you're going to have guys that look great in a uniform. They profile everything. They could get hurt. They could not get hurt. You just don't know.
And Rollins walks. That's the second time Lyles has struggled to pitch to Jimmy Rollins. That's 3 walks. And the guy who's hit him the hardest is striding to the plate right now, Yasiel Puig. He hit a missile to third and then a missile base hit to left.
And this is the same setup you had back in the 3rd inning. You had first and second with Puig up. And he hit that one hopper to Corey in left field. Well, coming in the prior 12 innings, coming into the game, Jordan had only walked 4. And now here in 4 1/3, he's walked 3.
Now, let me correct something. I said I thought Rollins was a first-round pick. He's actually a second-round pick in '96. But still.
Top 5 rounds. And you're saying, trust me on this one.
Puig taking a look at Lyles now. Are you kidding me? He's got traffic everywhere. You think he's trying to hit you?
Jordan threw up his arms like, really? Come on.
Well, now you probably pass on him.
And the only problem is you got that was a slider. This came out of his hand off to the side.
Yeah, I like Lyles' reaction too. He walked right toward him. The ball it's spinning. Trying to plunk somebody, not throwing a
save it.
A breaking ball at him.
Go back and get in the box.
Fastball on the outside corner. Great pitch. 1-1. Two and 1. Rockies charged the infield there. A little Tony La Russa move. We've seen Walt do this with his infield at times in the past. Now they drop back.
Now will they do it back-to-back times?
Good block. 3 and 1. I mean, it's an unenviable situation to be in. You say if you put Puig on, at least you set up a force all around. And I get it. Gonzalez is hotter than anybody in baseball. He's a tremendous RBI guy, but you got him to hit into what should have been an inning-ending double play the last time he came up with heavy traffic. Cannot throw this guy a cookie.
No. Take
it
down.
4 for 7 lifetime against Lyles, and that pitch nowhere close at 94. So the bases are loaded for Adrian Gonzalez with 1 out.
Number 23, Adrian Gonzalez.
That was a pitch around, but it is still the 4th walk for Jordan in 5 innings.
started with a leadoff walk to the number 8 place hitter.
He's allowed only 4 hits. So Lyles, 4 hits, 4 walks. Just came in with a 1.17 whip. Walks and hits per inning pitch, which is outstanding. Gonzalez lifts it to deep left center field, and Charlie lays out, can't make the catch. Everybody had to hold up. 2 runs are going to score, and it's going to be the longest single you've seen this year. Everybody had to wait. Blackman gave extraordinary effort. And Adrian Gonzalez just continues with maybe the best stretch of what has been a marvelous career. He's 3 more RBIs tonight. 14 on the season.
Well, this time he doesn't roll over on the ground ball. Drops it back leg, has a slight uppercut. Charlie lays out on the warning track, kisses off the wall. But you walk that tightrope, you walk too many guys, and then you're asking to try to get out the most dangerous hitter right now, or one of them in the National League, in Gonzalez.
This ball lined to center, and Charlie will get there. And Howie Kendrick has hit the ball hard all 3 times. It's the second out of the inning. Well, you said it. In this league, and especially against this kind of lineup, you can't. You got to make them earn everything they get. Jordan would be the first to tell you that.
Think of the couple runs that the Dodgers have scored tonight. One of them should have been not scored because of the double play. Should have been turned. You're out of the inning. You have 2 walks in this inning.
The Jock Peterson at bat's the one that really hurt him. He was ahead of Jock Peterson. Peterson's a tremendous young talent, but he's got a lot of holes right now. A lot of holes. Real free swinger. Rondal, speaking of free swinging, 0-1. And then Greinke obviously gets the bunt out. And then Rollins twice now. He's pitched to Jimmy Rollins like he's Adrian Gonzalez.
Yeah, and then you had it set up to get him out. Then you maybe pitch Puig differently.
(4-1) LA. Here in the 5th inning. Goes back to what Walt was saying last night after the ballgame. When you're facing a Kershaw, and the Rockies really competed against Kershaw, when you're facing a Greinke, there's not much margin for error if you want to shake hands at the end of the night. You have to play clean defensively. You got to take advantage of every opportunity because few will present themselves typically on offense.
And especially out here in LA, where he's 5-1 as a Dodger. Greinke is against the Rockies.
Arenado's going to give it a look. He's going to run out of room. One-two outside, 2-2. Pitches in for Lyles. Still 2 on. Rondal, an RBI single and a strikeout. Dodgers have won 7 straight against the Rockies here in LA, the longest stretch they've ever had of success against the Rockies here. This will end the inning. Catch by Nick Hundley. 2 more runs for the Dodgers on that long single off the bat of Adrian Gonzalez. It's 2, 3, and 4 for the Rockies. Cargo, Tulo, Morneau against Zach Greinke. Rockies touched Greinke for a run in the first inning. Cargo grounded to short in the first, earned a walk in the third after being behind 0-2. He takes ball 1. The Rockies have had 4 leadoff hitters in this series reach. 3 have scored. The Dodgers have had 6 leadoff men reach in the series so far. 5 have scored. Talk about retiring that leading man, right?
Well, and you might have caught a break though with that single to left center field. Puig and his hamstring stopping at second base because of the ball Howie Kendrick didn't hit the center field. Could have been a sac fly. That inning, it wasn't good, but it could have been another run. So where you're sitting down in the ditch by 4.
And because of the effort by Blackman and not indicating to the world that he was in the gap, he held. 3 runs are going to score there ordinarily.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have a guy at second and Adrian Gonzalez.
And the hustle from Corey to be over there to pick it up to get it in.
Greinke with the strikeout of Gonzalez. That's just his second strikeout tonight. And that'll bring up Tulo. RBI single in the first and a ground ball to third.
Well, the first Purple Monday is April 20th, 2 days from now. Wear purple, win prizes. The first 5,000 receive a Rockies purple bomber hat. Might have come in handy the last couple days back in Colorado.
I don't think there's any question to that. A rare curveball from Greinke for a strike. The things about Greinke, all 4 of his pitches, fastball, slider, curveball, changeup, he throws for strikes more than 60% of the time. Stay fair. Nope.
Well, for Greinke in the second half last year, he increased his velocity on his fastball, but just a mile per hour. But you'd think in the second half he would go down by a mile or 2, but not Zach. Went up.
One ball, 2 strikes on Troy. Just like last year, he's off to a good start. Home run, 7 RBIs. That was launched. This date in history, 1923. Another memorable happening. The Yankees played their first ever game at Yankee Stadium, and of course they beat the Red Sox. Who else?
I remember standing in the box at old Yankee Stadium the first time, thinking about some of the memorable people and players that had stood in the same batter's box.
I can't imagine, especially you, a left-handed hitter. You're stepping in, Ruth and
Babe
Gehrig, and Williams,
yes. And I'm in that same batter's box.
Towing the same place they were, putting the spikes in the same dirt.
And that thought went through my mind the very first time I stepped in that batter's box.
Had to.
I had to step out for a moment to gather myself.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're not the only one. 2 balls and 2 strikes on Tulo. In the air, right center field. Seven in a row. retired now by Zach Greinke. Morneau has reached twice. He was hit by a pitch and singled.
Putting the shift on for Justin.
Well, where Jimmy Rollins is right now is right where he got his base hit in the 4th inning.
A lot of room on the left side. Uribe, virtually no range. That's what he was trying.
And again, the Rockies go quickly in the 6th inning. 4-1 Los Angeles. Nothing lead early, but now it's 4-1 LA. Rollins has reached a couple of times. Puig has reached a couple of times. And Adrian Gonzalez. I mean, somebody wake him up, because Adrian, who's been a tremendous player, may be hotter now than he's ever been at any point in his great career. 3 more RBIs tonight for Gonzalez. The Rockies have been limited to 3 hits, and they came early. 2, in fact, in the 1st inning. Greinke's retired 8 in a row. Andre Ethier in the 6th inning against Jordan Lyles. Ethier strikeout and pop to 3rd. Changeup, and he fouls that off. It's 0-1.
So you think Oakland would like to have a do-over on the trade that they sent Ethier down here for Milton Bradley and Antonio Perez?
Yes. Oakland gave, I'm trying to remember, they gave a couple of infielders away. They could have had one heck of an outfield about a decade ago.
Originally a 2nd-round draft pick in 2003 by Oakland. Never made it to the big leagues with them.
0-2 is lined toward Dickerson. He got a good break on it, and Corey makes the catch. Well, an inning ago, the public address announcer here at Dodger Stadium made an announcement to the crowd. What we had told you earlier, that this is the 65th anniversary of Vin Scully's debut, and there was a 1+ minute ovation, standing ovation for Vin Scully. Uribe's 0 for 2. That's down low. Rockies have Christian Bergman back in play tonight, who made that spot start for Jorge De La Rosa. Jorge's back in and going
Monday
on
at home.
Monday against the Padres, and Christian's up now. Pitch count is 88 in the 6th inning, and got to figure again in April this will probably be Lyle's last frame.
Another
And
walk.
that's 5 walks, and that's been an issue for the Rockies starters. Eddie Butler survived 6 walks. Kind of lived to tell about it in his last outing, but when you do that type of stat line and winning is an outlier.
But it also doesn't allow you to stay in the game as long as you would like, or as long as Wald or Steve Foster would like. And so you're calling down to the bullpen, hey, is Christian Bergman ready? Now, Christian threw on Tuesday night up in San Francisco. 93 pitches. He ended up going, 85 pitches, went 4 innings in that ball game. So he is back in play as a long man.
This is going to go foul.
I'm talking to Terry Wetzel, scout for the Rockies. We were talking about Jock Peterson. We saw him play last year and just said he was on everything, wasn't missing pitches. But he did say there's holes. There's a long swing. You can get him out in and also down and away. Because he starts with his hands pretty low, and then there's a lot of moving parts before it gets back up into a hitting position.
Haven't seen the 2-strike approach yet. I mean, that's a really big swing with 2 strikes. So Peterson will take his bat back to the bat rack. 2 outs, and Greinke will come up. 5 strikeouts for Jordan Lyles.
Well, no 2-strike approach. Oh, elevate the fastball. If he's going to chase and get himself out, let him. And that's what I'm sure Jordan's thinking back to last inning when he walked him. He had him down behind in the count and then let him off and started that whole inning on the wrong way.
First pitch strike on Greinke as a base hit and a sac bunt. A hit tonight for Greinke, his first of the year. Dodgers have 4 runs. Lyles has given up just 5 hits. But again, that's where the walks come into play. 2 of the guys he walked scored in the 5th inning. When the bases were loaded, there was only 1 hit in that inning. That was Gonzalez's. Jordan hops off the mound. And that's all for the Dodgers in the 6th inning. So we move to the 7th. The Rockies have work to do offensively. They're down 4-1.
Baseball is a game of repetition, and some players, they take that to a whole new level. Fans, they call them superstitions. Players call them routines, and either way, Corey Dickerson, his routine is very noticeable. Check it out in this edition of Clubhouse Confessionals.
Corey Dickerson, he tapes his bats way too many times.
He goes through more athletic tape than all of the training room combined.
I like things to feel perfectly or feel the right way or feel the right way in my hands. And, you know, if I think it's going to help me, I do it.
So some superstitions or routines, as players call them, you can see they're visible in the dugout. Of course, for Corey Dickerson, it's not necessarily visible, but when you're in the clubhouse, you do see him with those bats. He almost kind of handles them like a baby. I think you've seen that in there, Jeff, Drew.
Why not? I mean, that's how you make a living. That's what your craft is. I mean, I know what Drew does with the microphones before we go on air.
Really?
It tapes them all up, make sure they're powdered up, ready to go.
Guys are very particular. I don't know if I've ever met a player, and you played a long time, that didn't have either superstitions or serious routines that they adhere to. And the bats, that's their equipment.
Yeah, bats and gloves.
I mean, Helton, just like, you know, other players, they get a shipment of bats and they ping them, trying to listen to, you know, to hear how, you know, thick they thought the wood was, how hard the wood was. And, you know, they discard, you know, a bunch of them and autograph those and send those out. A couple they keep for BP. Maybe there's 1 or 2 gamers in there.
Yeah, they'll also weigh them. They have a weight. They're supposed to come in at whatever, 31.5 ounces, 32, and guys will pick them up and just feel them. Nope, that's not right. Let me measure it. Nope, that one's no good. Put it back in the box. Get rid of it. I don't want it.
This ball's well hit to left field, and it is over the head of Ethier, and it'll be a double for Arenado. Boy, was that ever hit hard.
Number 6.
So the Rockies had their first hit since the leadoff single by Morneau in the 4th inning.
Well, both these teams came into tonight tied in the major leagues in extra base hits. And this just got Andre Ethier turned around every which way to Sunday because it was hit so hard.
So here's Corey with the tape and the bat and the gloves, and he's ready to go. Dickerson 0 for 2. He hit a ball well to left center field that Jock Peterson made a great running catch on. It's a different kind of battle tonight. Last night, you were battling to make contact against Kershaw. He strikes out 12 in 6 innings, and then he was gone. Well, here's Greinke working into the 7th. He has only 2 strikeouts, but he's given up just 1 run on 4 hits.
Well, and then 2 of those hits came back in the 1st inning. So since then, 1 in the 4th, and then that leadoff double by Nolan.
Best thing he did tonight, Greinke, was that 1st inning minimizing the damage, getting that double play ball off Arenado. The Rockies maybe could have put up 2 or 3.
Chris Hatcher is now up in the bullpen for the Dodgers. Boone Logan for the Rockies.
Leadoff double for Nolan Arenado. Way outside, 2-1.
Corey creeping up in the box closer to the pitcher.
This ball's well hit to left field. Ethier going back, still going back, and he makes the catch as he slams into the wall. Arenado will move up 90 feet. That's twice Dickerson off the bat. Had to think he had extra bases.
Well, Jock Peterson robbed him in the fourth.
Number 4.
And now over the head of Andre Ethier. Didn't have a good route on the ball to Nolan. This time he just turns and runs and slams into the wall. But Nolan advancing on the play, because Wisely with no outs, you go out there and you make sure you tag up and at least get to third.
Don Mattingly's coming out. A couple hard hit balls to begin the 7th inning. He's got a bullpen that has been very good so far.
He hasn't signaled yet.
I think with that ilk of pitcher, a lot of times a manager will go out and get a feel for where his guy is. You know, if it's for instance, if Walt was going out to talk to Jorge De La Rosa, he may listen to Jorge and go turn around and go back. If he's going out with Eddie Butler, he's already made a decision.
Right. Well, and the guy's won a Cy Young. He's pitched in this league forever. Yeah, 2 balls have been hit extremely hard, squared up this inning, but you still go out to him and say, "You okay? You feel good? All right."
Corey was so frustrated, came back, slammed his helmet down. You're talking about situation, maybe back-to-back doubles, 4-2, nobody out, tying run at the plate. Hundley's 0 for 2. 1-1.
But again, with the slam in the bat, that's okay. I mean, it shows the compete level. It shows that want.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, some people get mad at it. They say, "Oh, you don't need to do that." Well, they don't do it all the time.
You have to let emotion out sometimes, and I don't think anybody would in that dugout would misconstrue that for being selfish or for being, a hothead.
Now, if you're winning 8-0 or 8-1 or losing the same, then it's more of a selfish play. But not that one for Corey. I feel his frustration. You hit it right on the screws and nothing to show for it.
That's why hitters never buy into they all even out.
They don't even out. Whoever came up with that phrase was wrong.
It was a pitcher.
So never apologize for a bloop hit or a broken bat hit, squibber.
Covered a good fastball there.
Worse for Nick now. You have to put the ball in play. Brooks Brown joining Christian Bergman. But they're giving you the run, infield back. Yeah, you want to knock, but make sure at least Nolan scores.
Greinke able to strike out Hundley for the second out. The day after every Rockies victory, get 50% off your online order at Papa John's. The promo code's ROCKSWIN. Enter that at papajohns.com. So the Rockies need a hit to get Arenado home. LeMahieu, a strikeout and a fly ball to center field.
Michael McHenry has made his way to the on-deck circle, and if it gets to that, Michael, 5 for 8.
Well, that's why the selection
Yes.
of McHenry
Against Greinke.
We were talking about that this afternoon. Michael knew he had pretty good numbers against Greinke. He didn't know exactly what they were until I told him. 5 for 8, as Jeff said. Three and 1. 101 pitches in for Greinke.
This will be his last hitter either way.
Last outing, he threw 102 in a 7-inning performance against Arizona, in which he did not give up a run.
We'll see if he gives in and feeds him a fastball.
He did. J.P. Howell on the left side, joining Chris Hatcher.
And that's for the two left-handers at the top of the lineup, and Charlie and Cargo.
Three-two. This ball's crushed left center field. Get up, get out. DJ LeMahieu. Two-run home run. Here come the Rockies. It's 4-3. Well, maybe the most frustrated Rocky this evening, DJ LeMahieu, because of the errant throw earlier in the ball game, takes it out on one swing.
And talk about a no-doubter. Middle to end for DJ. And even before he reached first base, he was giving EY high fives because he knew it when he hit it.
A whole new evening in LA. The Rockies within a run here in the 7th, and Zach Greinke will walk off the mound. Brought to you by Jack in the Box. Jack's hottest sandwich is back. Head to Jack in the Box for Jack's Blazing Chicken Sandwich. And by Mitsubishi. Mitsubishi Motors invites you to find your own lane. Hard to find your own lane in LA. It's always crowded. But the Rockies, after that two-run home run by DJ LeMahieu within a run here in the 7th inning. And they've knocked Zach Greinke off the mound. It'll be Chris Hatcher, the tall right-hander, taking over. Mike McHenry will pinch hit in the pitcher spot. Tell you what, Max plenty capable of tying it up.
And you got a guy out on the hill that throws hard. Hatcher appeared in 50-plus games last year with Miami. 52 games, came over in the big D. Gordon, Dan Herron trade. One save he has was on opening day.
Ball and a strike on McHenry. But I'll tell you what, DJ really leaned on that, and he doesn't pull the ball frequently. Balls he hit out last year on the pull side were breaking balls typically.
Right, but where that pitch was, he's not missing it this year because that was belt high. I mean, anywhere just in the middle part of the zone for him, he's crushing. Back to DJ's home run swing, staying tall through the ball and then finishing high. But notice where that pitch is, just above his belt, and he got everything into that. I'll tell you what, the compete level of this ball club, that never say die attitude, I mean, it's pretty evident.
No question. McHenry strikes out against Hatcher, but the Rockies are within a run of the Dodgers in the middle of the 7th inning. DJ LeMahieu, his first home run of the year. To the bottom of the 7th inning, top of the order for the Dodgers. New arm out there for the Rockies, Brooks Brown. He's faced 16 hitters this year in 4 ball games, and he's retired 14 of the 16.
Well, and that's why he's starting to get into these higher stress situations as a reliever. Walt has the confidence in him to come into a one-run game. It's not only right-handers that he can get out. He's starting to get the left-handers out, so his game is improving and growing. Therefore, he coming in the 8th or 7th inning.
Jimmy Rollins has walked twice. Jordan Lyles goes 6 innings, 4 runs, 5 hits. He walked 5, struck out 5. Brooks Brown was a little gimpy the last couple of days after getting hit in the leg against the Giants. But he threw yesterday a little side session, felt much better. Obviously, he's ready to go. He's back out there.
Yeah, and early in the season, take that extra day to help with the off day. You got hit, and that was Wednesday night, and had yesterday or Thursday off. Excuse me. Did not pitch yesterday. Ready to go today.
Pitch just off the plate. It's 2-0 on Rollins. There's a strike. Not too many guys hit no doubters in the evening at Dodger Stadium. DJ, who doesn't hit a ton of home runs, just did. 3-1. What is it tonight about Jimmy Rollins?
I don't know.
But he's throwing him a strike.
Threw out the first at bat. And walk.
This ball's well hit right center field, and it's going to touch down and bounce over the wall. A ground rule double.
Number 66, Yasiel Puig.
This kind of goes back to really the theme tonight. If you fall behind and have to lay one in, guys will do the damage. Jimmy Rollins did on that pitch from Brooks Brown, much like what DJ did to Zach Greinke.
It takes the guesswork out. I mean, you just sit dead red.
Sitting dead red. You're looking fastball, and then it's just react. It's what you're trained to do.
Puig tonight is 1 for 2 and a walk. What occurred last night. The Rockies would get close to the Dodgers, and then the Dodgers would tack on a run or two. Brown trying to prevent that. This ball's lined toward left center, and it's over the head of Dickerson. Rollins will jog home. Puig jogs into second with a double, and the Dodgers have a 5-3 lead.
Well, I said it last night, when you got back to within 1 run of Clayton Kershaw, the Kyle Kendrick had to need a shutdown inning. Well, Brooks Brown, you needed to come out and not get that 1 run or 2 runs that you just earned back. 2 batters, 2 doubles. And this ball, I mean, the strength of Puig is shown on that swing.
Puig had missed the last 3 games. He's had a large impact on this game. He's hit found the barrel 3 times tonight. A line out, a hard single, and now that double. The other at bat was a walk. Adrian Gonzalez has driven in 3 this evening. Gonzalez, from some of the savvy members of the crowd, getting applause because he moved the runner up. And with 1 out, the Rockies will have to bring the infield in with Kendrick at the plate, down by a couple runs here in the 7th.
Ask about the Rockies buy 1, get 1 free sweet offer. Game dates available against the Dodgers and Giants, but call today. Buy 1, get 1 sweet offer. Well, and with Puig at third and the hamstring, you don't have to play all the way in if you're on the left side of the infield.
Pulled to third, past diving Nolan Arenado. Kendrick is heading towards second, third double of the inning, and the Dodgers immediately get those 2 runs back. It's exactly what they did last night.
Yes. And this was a ball because you're playing in, you're trying to cut the run off. Your range isn't as good. Again, just out of the reach of Nolan on the dive to the backhand. Because if he catches this, he has a chance to tag Puig out and then get up and throw Kendrick out. He catches it, Puig's going by, and another reaction of frustration.
Grandal at the plate. And another strike. Dodgers now up 6-3 after a few minutes ago. The Rockies on the 2-run home run by LeMahieu had closed to 4-3. Two outs.
Number 16.
Rockies and Dodgers had come into this ball game tied for first in the big leagues with 42 extra base hits each. Kendrick's got a pair of doubles tonight. Rollins has doubled. Puig has doubled. That's 4 doubles for LA this evening.
Couple doubles and a home run for Colorado, so they have the lead by 1 in the extra base hit. And in this series, half the hits have gone for extra base hits.
Ethier 0 for 3. Interested to see if Puig goes to right field in the 8th inning. He really kind of hobbled home on that double by Kendrick. Nursing that sore hamstring.
Kind of nursed it into second on this double.
I would think they may put Van Slyke in left. Here's a comebacker and send Ethier to right. We'll see in a moment. 2 more runs for the Dodgers. They lead at 6-3. game, DJ LeMahieu was turning a routine double play. Adrian Gonzalez grounded into what should have been a 6-4-3, but DJ uncharacteristically threw low. A run would score, and he was as fired up as I've ever seen him, at least outwardly. And then he came back with a 2-run home run to get the Rockies within a run. Our T-Mobile game changer. Unfortunately, the Dodgers came back with 2 in the bottom half of the 7th inning. So we go to the 8th. The Rockies will face J.P. Howell at the top of their order. Howell called upon because the first 2 hitters in the inning for the Rockies left-handed. Charlie Blackmon, Carlos Gonzalez.
J.P. was warming up last night, did not come into the game. 3rd year with L.A. Made a lot of appearances over his career, but you look at the numbers. 571 against lefties when that's his role is to come in to get the left-handers out.
Well, if it's July and those numbers are similar, then I'm sure he will be alarmed, as will Rick Honeycutt and his skipper Don Mattingly. First pitch is in there, a strike.
Yeah, because last year, a 183 batting average against. His career is what you're looking for. You're the left-handed specialist.
No swing, 1-1.
Doesn't throw hard. He throws a lot of arms and legs, and looks like the ball's supposed to come out of the hand at Aroldis Chapman speed.
Nobody throws Aroldis
I know,
Chapman
but just the way he throws, and it looks like it, trying to deceive you.
Here's the 1-1, and Charlie bounced it toward the hole, but look out. He got the bag when he slid. Wow. Adrian Gonzalez made the feed. Charlie, pretty athletic move. He became a hurdler, so there wasn't a collision.
And that's why you saw JP stick his glove out to Charlie, saying, you know, thanks for not stepping on me, because you could have.
He could have broken an ankle there, too.
And that's why Charlie, see, that's just a little sportsmanship.
Cargo 0 for 2 and a walk. Juan Uribe was checking on J.P. Howell. He went in. Howell first came up with Kansas City in 05. Also with the Rays for many seasons. 3rd year in a Dodger uniform. The Rockies off to the 7-3 start, 2nd best start ever. Cargo had the great opening series in Milwaukee, and you know, he's thrown out his hits here and there, but wait till he starts heating up.
He came out for some early batting practice today, working on taking the ball up the middle, hitting it the other way. And it's all the peaks and valleys that every major league hitter goes through.
You're not going to have everybody hot at the same time. You understand that, but you have 2 perennial all-stars in Cargo and the batting champion Justin Morneau that haven't hit their stride yet. Tulo has been super steady. Arenado and Dickerson off to great starts. 2 balls and a strike, 1 out, nobody on. 8th inning, 6-3 LA. Three balls and a strike.
Those are the pitches that frustrate you. The 3-1 count, you're looking for a good pitch to hit, and it wasn't, but you swing.
That ball's scalded, but it's right at Jock Peterson. He stayed on that curveball well.
He didn't have to move.
2 outs. Tulowitzki coming up. Who wants tacos? Fans follow @RootSports_RM on Twitter to receive alerts for the Rockies taco special when the Rockies score 7 or more in a ball game. Tulowitzki, a base hit in the first, sharp single to left to drive in Charlie Blackmon, gave the Rockies that early 1-0 lead. Ground ball to third and a fly ball to right as well. 1 for 3. Three runs, 5 hits, no errors for Colorado. 6 runs, 8 hits, and an error for the Dodgers. They won 7-3 yesterday. It's 3-0 on Troy. The only time the Rockies started better than 7-3 was 2011 when they started 8-2. 95 and 97, the Rockies were also 7-3. 2011 club after 11 games was 9-2. That's a strike also.
I think they're showing that the road is a different animal. They're look at the record and what they've accomplished. 6-1 out on the road with those 7 wins.
And he came back, struck him out with a curveball. Troy never moved the bat. So Howell works a 1-2-3 8th inning. Dodgers 6, Rockies 3.
Coming in from the bullpen for the Colorado Rockies. Yesterday, a very special day for Rafael Betancourt because at the age of 39, 353 days, he became the oldest pitcher ever from Venezuela to pitch in Major League Baseball. That will happen tonight on the mound. But for Rafael to come back from Tommy John surgery, go through the season he did last year, and just make this club was special in and of itself.
You know, before I got to spring training, that was the only thing that was on my mind. I wasn't thinking to go down to minor leagues to pitch there. The only thing I had on my mind was make the team out of spring training, and just trying to do everything I can to make that possible, and everything's worked out well.
While becoming the oldest Venezuelan pitcher ever, just 11 days shy of his 40th birthday. When I told him that news in the clubhouse yesterday, Cargo overheard it and said, I don't want to be the oldest Venezuelan to ever play this game, jokingly. But Betancourt said, you know, I do want to be. This is a really proud moment for Rafael. And Walt Weiss was telling me yesterday, it should be. You know, he's not a guy to look for attention, but he should be receiving recognition for what he's doing, because it's a great story. Not a lot of guys can come back from Tommy John surgery at this age and then show results on top of that. And that's what Betancourt has done so far this season.
He's a very proud man. He's a very tough man, tough-minded guy. And
I just like his singular focus, saying, you know, my focus is making this big league club. That's my goal.
And it wasn't gratuitous on the part of the Rockies. He earned his spot, and so far he has been outstanding. He's ahead of Uribe 1 and 2. Out of play. Two and two. Line drive out of the reach of Morneau. It'll be a base hit for Uribe.
MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, is celebrating 13 years. Watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in true HD. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, and more. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details.
Jock Peterson, a walk sandwiched by a pair of strikeouts tonight. Sometimes kids come up with a lot of fanfare. Bryce Harper comes to mind. And Jock Peterson, with what he accomplished last year and winning the MVP award in the Pacific Coast League in gaudy numbers, could have arrived, though he did have a cup of coffee last year with an inflated ego and struggled to fit in. He's been anything but. Veteran teammates really adore Jock Peterson.
Well, they have the right leadership. You're talking to Adrian Gonzalez. We've talked about Jimmy Rollins, Howie Kendrick, those type of guys that put him in his place if he did come up and think he was all that.
One's fouled off. One of the first things that Don Mattingly did when they had the deal worked out for Jimmy Rollins, he naturally called Rollins, and Jimmy said to Don, he said, "What do you want from me?" And he said, "I need your help in that clubhouse." because listen, the Dodgers won 94 games last year. They won the division. Ridiculously talented club. But all year, all you heard about emanating from the Dodgers was the
dysfunction.
The dysfunction of the clubhouse. And here's the 1-2. Swung on and missed. Peterson gone. Betancourt with one out. Well, they made some changes. And they brought in some guys that have been clubhouse leaders just by the way they go about their business. Jimmy Rollins is a more vocal guy than Howie Kendrick. But Jimmy Rollins' response to Mattingly was, I got it.
Well, and then that allows Don to do other things.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to police the clubhouse. Well, Justin Turner will pinch hit for J.P. Howell.
Turner pinch hit in the ball game last night. Bottom of the 8th inning, 6-3 LA. Rockies closed to within 4-3 in the top of the 7th, but the Dodgers got 2 in the bottom of the 7th. Turner last night struck out against the Troy Hawkins. There goes Uribe, throw to second's not going to get it.
It was a good combination to run on. The higher leg kick from Rafael, but the slider. Uribe takes off. It's not a hit and run. It was a straight steal. Didn't look back. Now another runner in scoring position for LA. '47th career stolen base for Juan.
More giddy up, he's tough to pick up. You're talking about that. He's been 88, 89. That last fastball, 91 from Rafi.
Well, and for Rafi, he hits his spots because he repeats his delivery. I mean, he does the same thing every time. He'll break the hands at the same time as the knee's coming up. He'll get the drive off the back leg, the arm in a good slot, and then he hides it. And all of that is when you see the late swings on the 90 to 91 mile an hour fastball.
One and two on Turner. It's punched foul. Center field, Blackman. And there are 2 outs.
Number 11, Jimmy Rollins.
Here comes Jimmy Rollins. He's been on 3 times tonight. 1 for 2, a double in the 7th inning. He scored a couple of runs. Time for the CenturyLink link to what's next. Here's the pitching matchup Sunday afternoon here at Dodger Stadium. Eddie Butler will make his 3rd start. Brandon McCarthy, who's had an interesting year. He's striking a ton of guys out. 19 against just 1 walk. He's also given up a lot of home runs.
Gave up 4 home runs in his last start.
He became the first pitcher in history to strike out 10 in a game or more, not walk anybody, and give up 4 home runs.
Think about that. The history of the game.
Rollins takes a strike. Rockies in the 9th inning. will have 4, 5, and 6 in their order. Morneau, Arenado, Dickerson, and those three will need help. The Rockies trailing by 3 right now.
Joel Peralta will try to come in and close it out.
They're working by committee for the Dodgers in the absence of the injured Kenley Jansen.
I mean, was it last year for the Dodgers that they had 4 or 5 former closers in their bullpen?
I think it was
With
last
League
year.
And J.P. Howell. And
Chris Perez was here.
Chris Perez, Kenley Jansen. Well, it was just last year. Now is this when we see the new split finger from Rafael? A 1-2 count.
That may be a good spot for it. He went heater. And it's 2-2.
Key for any pitcher. If you're going to throw that split finger or the slider, have the same arm action that you do on your fastball. Don't slow anything down. Oh, that was a cross up. And Huntley was dropping down to a knee. Watch him drop down to a knee, thinking that he's going to have to block this.
Wow.
As it goes off his chest arm.
That's an uneasy feeling for a catcher.
Only a catcher can laugh about it. They said, "That's okay. I just had to wear one off my chest."
Three and 2 on Rollins. Uribe at second with 2 outs.
This is not unusual on the forward strike zone to see Rafael pitch everything away. I mean, that's been his MO for his entire career. Back when he was the closer and now more of a setup role.
Good splitter, strikes out Rollins. There it was. It finally showed up. Couple punch outs in the inning. Uribe left at second base. So we'll go to the 9th. Morneau, Arenado, Dickerson. The Rockies trail by 3. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. And by Mike Shaw Subaru, always our lowest price in sales and service guaranteed. Rockies in the 9th inning at Dodger Stadium, trailing LA 6-3 in the middle game of a 3-game set. We take you back to Denver. Mark Stout and Ryan Spilborghs. All right, Mark, Spilly, it sounds good. What would really sound good is a prodigious Rockies rally here in the 9th inning. Morneau walking to the plate. He'll face Joel Peralta, the 39-year-old native of the Dominican Republic and a Rocky for a brief time in 2009, and a guy that Don Mattingly has credited for his leadership role down in that bullpen here in the early going.
Well, since 2011, Joel has led all Major League relievers with 301 relief appearances. He pitched for the Rays from 11 through 14.
Justin hit by a pitch in the first, a single up the middle in the fourth, and a ground ball to third in the 6th inning. Curveball for a strike. Crowd is reacting, folks, to a paper airplane that has landed right in front of the Dodger dugout. It came down from the extreme portion of the upper deck. Any manager will tell you this: when you're down by 3 or certainly more than that, and you get to the last frame, all you can hope for is to somehow at least get the tying run to the plate. This ball's well hit to left center field, and Peterson's going to run it down. Second fine play he's made tonight.
Well, and that's a couple balls just on this road trip for Justin that he sure thought was out or off the wall. I know there was one in San Francisco he thought was out, and the way this sounded, it sounded like he got it all. And Peterson slows down and catches it a stride before the wall.
Showing that he's a pretty fair outfielder.
A lot of range is what he's showing.
A real athletic kid.
And you talk about getting to this 9th inning and you're down by 3 runs and just 3 outs, but you got Peralta, who's not an overpowering pitcher. I mean, he's going to throw a curveball in the 70s. The fastball will be 88 to 90, so he doesn't strike that fear in you as it's, oh, he's going to blow me away.
Nolan hit a long double to left his last time up. Line shot over Andre Ethier's head. Again, if you get some traffic and get the tying run to the plate, that's all a manager can realistically hope for. Obviously, you hope you bunch together a ton of hits and put up a crooked number, but in these situations, if you get where there's 2 guys on and you get the right guy at the plate,
and you still have the big bat of Willeen sitting there if it gets to the pitcher's spot.
3-0.
Great eye.
There haven't been any giveaway at bats. The Rockies grinded last night, even though they struck out a bunch. And they've grinded tonight. That's Another thing Walt really likes about this club, Tulowitzki was talking about it. How competitive this team is. Well, there's your first runner on, a 1-out walk to Nolan.
Number 6, Corey Dickerson.
Bring up Dickerson. Talk about a guy that's been robbed a couple times tonight. Peterson robbed him in the 4th inning, and Dickerson was robbed by Ethier on a deep drive to left his last time up. Breaking ball's in there for a strike.
That's the difference for Peralta as he's gotten older. The first pitch, get me over curveball. Everything used to be a hard fastball and then a hard slider. Now he'll roll that one up. The hitters aren't looking for it.
Chase, it's 0-2. Giants earlier ended their losing streak. On the 9th, they got their World Championship rings. They beat Arizona 4-1. It was Heston again. He went 7 2/3, allowed just a run. Chris Heston been the best pitcher for the Giants in the early going.
Pretty impressive against the Rockies.
This ball line to right. Puig makes the catch. And it's been a night for Corey Dickerson. Good at bats and no results. 2 outs, and that'll bring up Hundley.
You can tell the hamstring is still barking for Puig as he comes up and makes the catch, thinking about firing to first, and then you see the grimace.
Up left side, foul ground. Uribe's there. Uribe has it, and the Dodgers have won the first 2 against the Rockies here in LA. 6-3 the final after defeating Colorado 7-3 last night. It's tough when you're going up against Kershaw and Greinke. The Rockies had their opportunities, but the Dodgers, when the Rockies would get close, always seemed to counterpunch. Zach Greinke gets the win. He's 2-0. Jordan Lyles takes the loss. He is 1-1. Joel Peralta, the former Rocky, gets the save. Our Jimmy John's delivery of the game. Yasiel Puig, after missing the last 3 ball games, nursing that hamstring, back in there tonight, hit the ball hard every at bat, including this RBI double to left center field. So right after the Rockies had closed to within a run, the Dodgers would get 2. Puig was in the middle of it. He's part of our Jimmy John's delivery of the game. Again, the final score, the Dodgers on 9 hits have defeated the Rockies tonight 6-3. The Rockies held to 5 hits. Let's go to our Denver studios. Here's Mark and Spilly.